Well, thank you so much for listening and watching Abaguse Global Radio. I'm Orina Ontiri, and this is Alfaxad Yabuto. Alfaxad, I want us to have a little insight about the students in the Americans in US right now as we are talking. We understand that the students are not going to school anymore.
Yes.
But there are people who are wondering how is education going to take them, how they're going to finish. Is there a way that your teachers have instituted that they are talking to you right now?
Well, what I can say, now thank you very much for having me here on AGR. Now, coronavirus has taken a lot from us students that go to school, especially high school students.
The day-to-day
yes.
levels.
So a lot of people that were seniors expecting to graduate this year, for the most part, especially here in Texas, it has been pushed back. Now, for me, especially a freshman in high school, we were expecting to take the STAR test this year, which is one of the biggest exams that we have here in the state of Texas. Coronavirus has taken that back, and most of us are not taking the STAR test this year, or perhaps I should say all of us are not taking the STAR test this year. Now, schooling is being done at home. It's becoming an online school. Yeah,
actually that's what I wanted you to talk about, because there are students all over the world, especially where I come from in Kenya, who are at home and they don't know. Okay, when I was going to school, anytime I'm told that you are not going to school anymore, I could be very happy and go socialize with the people. But this situation is different, because even though you are not in school, you are not going to socialize.
Yes.
You are going to be quarantined or to isolate yourself, or be somewhere at least where we have this time now, social distancing.
Yes.
Now that this is taking place, how are you schooling at home?
Well, myself and for my school, I can speak for myself and my school, and perhaps I can't speak for all of Texas, because most of us do have the same curriculum.
Yeah, at least we can get an insight.
Yes. So for myself, most teachers are using video call, or they would bring a class together and they would teach the class through video call. There are some teachers using Google Classroom, and by the way, I would like to thank Google, because they are helping us a lot in a big way.
Yeah, they came up with an app for Google
Classroom where teachers can post assignments and we can do the assignments instead of us completely getting out of school, like for the people who live in Africa that don't have this kind of technology we have in the US. They can use Google Classroom as a way to teach themselves and to get assignments turned in to school.
Oh, so do they have a normal timetable, just like the timetable for school?
Well, I should say this. Most teachers and most schools do have a timetable where you have to have your homework or assignment due at a certain time. Now, it is like normal school. The only difference is that you're in the house. Now, you're in the house not to socialize with other people, but you're in the house to work, to get your school done, perhaps like you were in school before.
So basically there's a normal schedule for school, but it's now for homeschooling.
The only difference is homeschooling.
Let's say like math was supposed to come at around 8.
Yes.
8 in the morning. So in the homeschool timetable is still math at 8.
It's still math at 8. The only difference is you're going to be talking to your teacher through video call or FaceTime, whatever works the best for.
Yeah, I have students in elementary and also in high school. So my son is in high school, as you know, but I see there is a timetable they send, and once you click on that timetable, it will if it's math, it will take you to math, and immediately it will give you the resources that you are supposed to.
Yes.
Does your school also do the same, so that you can get the resources you want in the timetable?
Now the thing is this: most Texas schools, and perhaps all of the United States, they all have a timetable. Now there are those schools, for example, I should say New York, Washington, where the pandemic or coronavirus is hitting really hard, where there are a lot of people that are dying. Now those people, most of the people that are being infected in those types of areas are not, they're completely not doing school. School is completely canceled for the year. Now for us, the people here in Texas where it's not hit as much, coronavirus is like, it's just a slide through. It's normal school. There's a timetable. You have to do this at a certain time. If it's math, you have to do math at a certain time. It's nothing has changed. The only difference is you're at how you're in your house.
This is all done with the assumption that your parents are learned, that they can help you do that. So what do you think of other parents who are not even able to read and write? Are they going to help their kids?
Well, in the United States of America, as we know, they call it the land of milk and honey, and they do not miss to have something that will help the people that are not as learned as the other people that are learned. Now, they do have a system for the people that don't speak English as their second language. It's called ESL, where it's English as a second language, where you can they can teach you how to do the work. You can talk to your teacher face to face if you need them to help you do your work. Now, there are other things like Google. They've created Google Translate, where you can do
Zoom, one of the latest.
Zoom is also working good in order to get their teachers and students into one thing, and to making it into a virtual classroom, perhaps I should say.
Wow, that's a wonderful program. So you also take the breaks in between?
Yes, we do take breaks. The only difference is that the breaks we take, they're not as short as the ones we would normally have in the
do you extend now that you're at home?
Now that I'm at home, I can't say that I do extend like 20 minutes. I'll go in my bed, I'll sleep a little bit, but I can't say that
it's not such serious like when you're at school.
It's not as serious as I am as whenever I'm at school.
And another point, I don't know, there are people who don't have the gadgets, the tools to use.
Yes.
Maybe you don't have a computer for technology side things. Do they provide such resources?
Yes. Now, before I get into that point, I should say that we're very privileged to have all these resources that we do have here in America. I was in Kenya last year, and most of my cousins, they don't have the same resources that I have. I had a cell phone. My cousin has a button phone where they're like, if you would leave me this, man,
I would remember when I got my first.
I would be very glad.
I was almost 25 when I got my first one, and I was in college.
So the thing is this: we're very privileged to have the technology we have. Now, the people that don't have the technology we have, schools do provide those technologies. They would let you check them out or take them from school, and whenever
that means you have to sign. Maybe you go online at a request, and then you go to school.
Or you can go to the school physically and pick up the devices, sign a few papers, and trust me, it's a good way of keeping our students intact and in a good place.
That's what it means to learn in the first world.
Yes.
And maybe, what about, we have talked about the gadgets. There are also people, you know, when you are at school, at times we don't cook.
Yes.
We cook something that is enough for us, in quote, that now you are out of the house, now that you are at home. Does the meal program continue, or can I still get food from school? Or
yes. Okay, now that's another point that we have to make. Now, we do have people that they unfortunately don't get food at home. Now, there are
actually know that they don't get food at home. You know, when this pandemic, when it came, nobody planned for it.
Nobody planned for it, and people
are
went
out
crazy.
of work.
Yes.
People are out of work. People could do some small endeavors, just like Uber. They can't do it anymore. Some other independent contractors, they're out of work. So basically, they're gonna miss at least paying some bills and getting food. So
yes.
What program has your school come up with?
Okay, so for example, for schools like my school and AISD in general, they've come up with a way of giving
those who don't know, AISD is Arlington Independent School District.
Now they've given a way of them getting food out to other people, and that they have trucks that can bring food to your house, or if you want, you can physically go to your school and pick up food if you don't have food.
Wow, I think then you are privileged.
Very privileged. Perhaps I should say the people that do live in Africa, and this is a challenge to our government as an African government, Kenyan, East Africa, whichever part of Africa you come from, and whichever, it's not only Africa, Asia as a whole, and other places. This is a challenge to our system. We should start making our system more improved and make it better to where our people can live life in a better way and live life like the rest of the people do. Get our technology higher up and do things the right way.
Okay, thank you. We shall be back after the break.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back on part 2. We want to know what happens here in the United States of America, especially now that schools are closed and our kids, our students are at home, and they are talking about homeschooling. So where we stopped, we were talking about the resources that they give the students.
Yes.
And we talked about food. What if I don't have internet? And people are talking that they go online.
Yes.
What if I don't have online?
Okay, now the thing is this. Internet is a privilege to us. Perhaps I should say the people that that came up with internet, computers, and other things, those are very talented people, and that gift comes from God. It's something that is God-given and something that is, it just comes from God. Simple terms. Now the thing is this: people that don't have internet here in the United States, Spectrum, AT&T, these big companies, the people that think about the people that don't have, they are starting to give out things for free.
Oh, okay.
If you don't have Wi-Fi, you can contact Spectrum. You can contact.
You contacted them, and then they are able to sign you up for free internet for around how many days? 90?
90 days, maybe at the most 6 months, I should say, because coronavirus has canceled out school for almost the next year. Because, for example, I myself, I was expecting to go to school tomorrow, but now that coronavirus is hitting harder here in our parts of Texas, I don't go to school no more.
People may not understand when you are talking about the year is almost done. They may not understand how does school year end here. How does it run?
Now the thing is this: for most of us in AISD and other parts of the world, school does start for us in August, and then school ends also in May, or sometimes June. Now, so
we can see now this like 1.5 or 2 months remaining.
Yes, and then I have a 3-month break in between, right? And that 3-month break, perhaps I should say, it's the part where I have the most fun. I get to travel the world. I get to do whatever I want to do. Now, during coronavirus, I can't say that anymore because now it seems like school is getting extended. Now, for the people expecting to graduate, school has been extended for a fact. There is no change about that. Now, we can't blame schools for doing this. Now, the only thing we can say is that it was just something that we were warned about in the Bible. It said we're in the end times, and this is the end times, and we're seeing it now.
I don't know if you are able to communicate it to other students online.
Yes.
What are some of their views? Are they happy? Are they sad?
Okay.
What are they saying?
For schools and for us as a whole, like I said earlier, some of us are using Zoom, some of us are using Remind, and some of us are using Google, Gmail, and other things to communicate to our fellow classmates and our teachers. Now, that is a way for us to communicate in order to get help on our homework, or to just communicate as a whole, check up on our fellow brethren who are living this life that we live in, right? So, for myself, I mean, most of us were really happy whenever we got out of school, but then whenever it started hitting hard and people started dying, it became a sad situation. And then whenever, for example, my sister is a senior. She was expecting to graduate this year, but she's not going to be graduating anymore. And so that became such a sad moment for her and for the rest of the people who were expecting.
But again, we thank God because we are alive.
Yes,
and
we do.
There are many people who are suffering in the other parts of the world.
Yes.
Even here where we're staying, I think last month one person died in Arlington.
Yes.
So it's really becoming the pandemic that is called now. Are you able to go to church? The churches here.
Now, perhaps I should say this. Before we continue, now we are on the AGR Broadcast Network, and I do want to say this: if you don't already watch the AGR Broadcast Network, make sure you watch it, because we do have shows. If you don't go to church, we have the church for you. Now, many preachers and many pastors say that having church online, or whenever you pull out your phone, I pull out my phone during church, man, pastor's gonna get mad at me. They don't really want
Satan
me to,
is using you.
Satan is using me in the church and trying to get me from the gospel, right? So many churches were not expecting this pandemic, and they do teach us all the time that we're during the end times. Now, they were not expecting the end times to come this early.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story of one preacher who was saying the end will come soon, but some boys tried to tempt him and see how ready he is, and indeed he was the first one to run out because
yes. So the thing is this: many pastors, many people were not expecting this end time to be like this, and this pandemic has changed a lot of people's views about technology. Now, we do know social media is one of the worst things that a human can use. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it can be. Humans know it as the worst thing you can use, because it changes your mind and it just changes you as a whole. Now, churches have started using that because we do not go to church anymore. Perhaps I should say, as one of the technicians at my church, people never expected us to be going on YouTube Live. People never expected us to be going on Facebook Live, because they know technology and social media is one of the worst things that you can be on.
Yeah, and actually most churches right now, let me say, most churches have been anti-technology.
Yes.
And anytime you talk about let's go do live streaming, most of them don't want to hear anything like that.
Because they want to pull more people to the church physically than pull them from the online world. And that's another thing. Whenever churches expect to pull people from the online world coming to the physical world. Now, the world that we live in is the 21st century. And in the 21st century, we should all know that the world has changed in a lot of ways. Now, my dad always tells me, he used to go, sometimes he would go to school barefoot. Sometimes he would wear some shorts that were ripped from the back. Now I wear a full suit. I wear a full suit, and whenever I'm wearing a full suit, my dad would be like, son, you look very good. And I would be like, thank you. And then whenever I say that, he's like, do you know that I used to do this? Do you know that I used to look like this? And I'd be like, man, I feel bad for you, because this is the 21st century. And my parents, they don't like me using technology a lot, but whenever it's to do the work of God, it's to do the work of God. And churches are starting to realize that. Reaching people through the online world is actually sometimes better than reaching people through the physical world, because people sometimes do come to church just to physically talk other than to actually listen to the gospel.
You know what, another thing I've realized, it's about the concentration of the mind. When somebody is online, I thought that they were able to peruse through other pages, they Google, they move out of Facebook to other sites, but I've realized, because I've been online for a long time, you know that, and when I gauge the comments after the sermon or in the middle of the sermon, somebody's asking, which verse did he say? I can't locate. There is a direct communication as the sermon is going on.
Yes.
You understand when we are at church, somebody's preaching, everybody's quiet. You can't even ask what happened. But online, we have an instant feedback. And actually, we have the latest analytics.
Yes. So the thing is this. Like yesterday I was at church. I put up the live stream and we had over 1,000 people. They were on the live, and I'm telling you, we don't have people like this that come to church.
Never.
And we do know that here in the United States of America, they have a maximum number of people that can be in a certain place, and they have a minimum number of people that can be in a certain place. And
so that like in Kenya, where you can say, I need 250 people, and then the hall is full, and then you continue. So it's very important that our people at home know that if a church is licensed to carry 250 people, you cannot host 300 people.
Yes, you cannot overdo that. And sometimes we have, like my brother Mike said, he said we have to follow the rules that are put in place. Anywhere you go, you have to follow the rules that are put in place. Now the thing is this. For churches, we over flooded our stream yesterday, and over flooding the stream, perhaps I should say that's a good thing, because normally we would have 200-300 people come to church, and that's the most. Now, whenever we found out that we had 1,000 people, I'm telling you, pastors in other churches, they were all happy. They were all happy because they're reaching people. And they're now starting to realize that going to church and streaming stuff online sometimes is actually a good help, because we do have people that unfortunately cannot make it to the physical church place and to the.
And I think it's a teaching moment. God allows some things to happen in some instances in life, so that at least we can learn something. You see, like this coronavirus, we are not happy that it happened.
No, we're not, of course.
But it's funny to see people who are against the technology right now, really rushing to look for this technology.
Now, a point I want to make.
Maybe that's what I want to ask you. You see, some churches didn't prepare for this, and they are telling us, even from scriptures, that members should be prepared. Just like the parable of the man who built a house upon the rock, and the other one in a shallow on a sand. You see, all the verses, the scriptures, they tell us as Christians we should prepare. But in the contrary, most of them didn't prepare for this. They didn't foresee a situation whereby the physical churches will be closed. Now we are not even foreseeing in future where even the Bible will not be available for anybody to read. So can we say that our churches were ill prepared?
Yes, I can say that, and that is actually one of the biggest facts. And even our political people are starting to realize that. Nobody was expecting this pandemic to happen, and coronavirus has actually hit a lot of places, and it's hit hard. And now for our churches, we do know that Stores have been closed. Schools have been closed. Everything is closed. Whenever people heard coronavirus, everybody went and wiped out the store shelves.
Yeah.
And so for our churches, they were all expecting, you know, now that coronavirus has happened, when they heard they couldn't go, nobody could go to church anymore, churches really started going hard. Best Buy, Fry's Electronics, Adoroma, B&H, all these big technology companies to try and get...
Actually, if you saw, I don't know if I told you yesterday, my schedule is already full.
Yes.
Because so many churches are calling us to go and install these services so that they can use live.
Yes.
When I talked to Fry's, because I was looking for some gadgets for the other two churches, they told me they don't have any more Fry's Electronics.
Yes.
I called Best Buy, they told me they don't have. And then they told me if you have to order, you have to wait for 2 weeks. So that means these churches for the next 2 weeks,
they won't be streaming live, and they can't reach
they won't
anybody.
Be streaming live.
Now that's another thing.
Yeah.
Most churches, perhaps I should say, they're using this as a way to attract other, because we do have a lot of young talent in our premises,
congregations.
And this is a way for churches to actually realize which talents we have. Now, for churches that don't go live, I've seen other churches invite those young pastors, those young elders, those young people to come and actually preach at their place and do stuff on the live stream. So perhaps if I was a singer, I would go up, I would ask, and I would go and sing at their place during the live stream, and that's a way to get young talent out there, and that's what churches are doing. Now I should say this, churches that didn't have the gadgets, they never got them. Now they're suffering through the pain of trying to get them. They have to wait 2 weeks. And for example, some in LA,
mind you, they are not the best gadgets, because the best gadgets have already been taken.
Have already been taken.
Yeah.
Now mind you this, in LA, one of our largest places here in the United States of America, they have the largest technology shops. They have everything that's the best.
Yeah.
They don't have anything anymore. Why? Because stocks from China, stocks from wherever they used to come from are not there. Now another thing, while we're on the topic of churches, churches, and a lot of people, they're expected to pay rent this month. Nobody's paying rent, right? Nobody's paying for water bills, right? Nobody's paying for electricity. So this is a big wake-up call to a lot of our churches and to a lot of our members that do go to our church, because sometimes what you think is the worst turns out to be the best thing that can help and to bring people together as a whole. Even though we cannot come together as one person or come together in a congregation, it brings us together through the online world and sometimes in a congregational world.
Maybe my last concern is about we are preaching to people, please come to church, congregate together, sit down and pray. It's a good thing to encourage them. But also the true Christianism should be seen during this time. As a true Christian, how are you helping the fellow human beings, fellow neighbors? You know, they're, let's say, the homeless people. We have food stuff at the pantry.
If you go to like, okay, perhaps before you finish your question, I should say for the homeless people, they do have shelters for them now. And if you go to, for example, if you go to the library, trust me, the library is actually taking care of the homeless people more than us Christians are taking care of other people. So now you can finish your question, but that's a point that I really wanted to make.
I received a call from one of the aspirants who was our presidential candidate from here. He was saying, you know, you can sign up to deliver some food from the food store to these people. And then it was a wake-up call to me that yes, in as much as we are preaching to people, there are people who are suffering. There are people who need this food delivered to them. So I think as Christians, is there anything you think we can do during this season?
Now I do want to face the camera for this one, because as Christians we do realize that we really preach the word to people. Nikikuona hapo, I really want to, you know, nakuona uko mchafu, like, I mean, you don't look that good.
I don't want to associate with you. I don't want to
associate with you because you don't look that good. Now this, whenever coronavirus happened, this was a wake-up call to us. It was not something that we decided to happen as like, you know. So as Christians we do need to take more of a precaution, because just because you're homeless or somebody else is homeless doesn't mean you can't help them. Now churches, I've seen churches go and take in homeless people. They've gotten beds, put them in their church areas and their congregation areas where they can get homeless people to stay. Now, whenever the law came in for people staying 6 feet away, and I do see Africans and Kisis are taking that very seriously. Normally we would see a Kisi come and they would shake each other's hand very carefully.
They're hugging.
You know, hugging and doing all these things.
Nowadays, remember our tradition, you have to shake the hand.
Kabisa, so
no more.
So squeezy
now you do.
Like the other day I was listening to our radio station AGR, and one of our presenters Laban, he goes, Wakisi wameanza kusalimiana na miguu siku hizi. Ama wanaenda kwa fence wanasalimiana hivi tu. Now wakati law likuje eti you have to stay 6 feet apart. Now right now we're not staying 6 feet apart, but when the law came in, a lot of churches felt devastated. They had to do something higher in order to help the people that don't have what they have. So now the thing I can say is this. Sometimes, yes, you're homeless, but sometimes you also have to take care of yourself in a good way. You have to follow the government laws. Yes, you fell from the laws, but you also have to you have to try and get yourself back into the
I was reading the book of Titus chapter 3 verse 1. It was saying that we should obey the authorities. We must. In fact, it's not optional. As God's people, we should obey the authority. I saw some churches in Bungoma, in Kenya, some priests. They're still preaching to people, and they really don't care. And I like what the CS, the minister said. You know, he said, what is the essence of having a full church at this time, and after this pandemic you find that you have a half a church because the rest have died. He said even the weddings can be done later. You can postpone them. Now
that's a thing that that's a thing that our government here in the United States is doing. Now most of people don't like Trump, but as we know now, Trump is doing what they never expected him to do. He's taking care of the people in the right way, and
I'm waiting for that check.
So he said he's sending a check out. Now I do realize that our time is going by fast, but the thing is this, like the CS said, we have to take care of ourselves very carefully, and as a church, as a Christian community, we have to do things in the right way. We have to follow what we preach to other people and what we say to other people. You don't have to say what, you know. If you understand what I mean. I think most people do understand what I'm saying, but just do as you say, because pastors do preach to us and they talk about how we should take care of ourselves and how we should help others in our community. We should do that as preachers, as pastors, as whoever you are. Do it and show it in your community.
That's a challenge to Christians. What are you doing to help your brother during these difficult times? Thank you so much. So our brothers in Kenya, most of them are disadvantaged because of the internet technology. The students, I don't know if they have any way of helping them at this point, but maybe in our next program we'll be able to know from our presenters in Kenya how the government is taking care of the education needs right now. And finally, I know we have talked much. What's your final word to our Kenyan people? Because right now I saw people running, others are saying, you know, I can't do without going to the market. So what's your final word to that?
Now, my final word to our Kenyan people. I'm Kenyan. I live in the United States of America, and I do say that I'm privileged. It's not something that I can hide, and it's not something that I have to tell people. It's something that you can see with your own eyes, with your God-given eyes. I'm very privileged, but I can say this. What our police are doing to our people in Kenya is not the right thing that they should be doing. Now, yes, people should take precaution, stay inside, but I can say this, beating people and having your brutality on people, especially in Nairobi. I saw a video yesterday, somebody's getting beat. And I can't say this, and this goes directly to the government. I'm very young, but I do understand that sometimes the Bible says you can hit, but sometimes you can't hit that hard because it's going to hurt. So I think we should take precaution with what we do and listen to what our laws are saying. If we want to be a great government, a great country, we have to do as what our upperclassmen are saying and what they're doing.
Thank you so much. Now that Alfaxa has talked to the government, I'm going to talk to the Mwananchi. Once the law has been passed, don't play with the law. You know, the government, the Sirikali is always the government. So once they say at 7, the curfew starts at 7, please ensure that you are at home in the right time. Don't mwenye nguvu mupishe. So don't rub shoulders with the government saying that, you know, I'm going to see what they do. No, it's not about the government. It's about your health.
It's about your health and your protection.
Yeah, and finally, if I've been in contact with somebody who is sick, maybe I've been in contact with people who have coronavirus, if I care for my family, I will not take this infection to them.
Yes.
So it is prudent, it is wise for me to step aside from them and tell them they will understand that this duration of 14 days, we will be able to determine whether I have the virus or not. So
now the thing is this, my last word, and I promise this is my last word.
Okay.
Make sure you wash your hands very clearly.
Yeah.
Now, I do understand that sometimes our Kenyan government does not use the CDC as a source, but they're going to start having to use it. And this is a challenge to all the people that are in parliament. They do promise us a lot of things, but some of the things they've promised us, they've not done. You have to start using other sources outside of yourselves. And using the CDC is actually one of the sources I want them to use, because the CDC is already trying to figure out a way to do it. Now in Kenya, they say that they're going to deal with it by themselves, but trust me, it's not going to work if you deal with it by yourselves. You have to work with other people.
Thank you so much. Yes,
so I think we should work together as a government and as a people. Wash your hands all the time. Keep yourself clean.
And keep your distance.
Keep your distance. You won't get coronavirus after that. So yeah, thank you very much for
thank you so much for that information. My listener, my viewer, it's my hope that you have been blessed and at least you got something out of our discussion. In case we didn't tackle the area that you wanted, keep on commenting. Maybe in our future, in our next program, we will feature it. Now my question is, the government of United States has cooperated so many sectors, especially the private sector, to help its citizens. What if the Kenyan government could give a stimulus check to some individuals, to some businesses? What if the government could cater for students and say, oh, okay, let me give you free internet so that you can research and do your work from home? What has the Kenyan government for its people? Orina Ontiri, Abagushe Global Radio.